Well, good evening and welcome to the Salem Area Mass Transit District Board of Directors meeting for March 26, 2015. Tonight we'll have public comment. People wishing to speak on something will have 3-minute limit. We'll then approve the consent calendar, which contains minutes from our February board meeting. We have 4 action items tonight. The first is to appoint a Citizen Advisory Committee member. Second is to propose a resolution for a stand-up for Transit Day proclamation. Third is to receive and consider the Special Transportation Fund Committee's 5310 grant applications and approval of a contract for TripLink call center services. We have 1 information item tonight, and that's American Public Transportation Association legislative report, and we'll conclude with the various reports.
It's a Citizen Budget Committee member.
Citizens Budget, Budget, I got the right. Thank you very much. Citizens Budget Committee. I've made a mistake.
That's what happens when you have trolls.
Well, that's not, I can't give that as an excuse. I do that anyway. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and tonight Brad will provide us with, lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Brad. Okay, any announcements or changes to the agenda? Citizens Advisory Committee. Okay, first item, public comment. Any person in the audience, anybody signed up, Linda?
No.
And is there anyone in there out here that wishes to speak? Seeing none, we'll go past that. And action items, we'll start right off with the action items. Citizen budget. Oh, sorry, what?
Consent calendar.
Oh, yeah, items on the consent calendar first.
Try to get out early.
Yeah. Do I, I think it's real short tonight.
I move we adopt the consent calendar.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anybody want to remove anything from there? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Both same sign. Okay, now we'll go to the action items. Appointment of the Citizen Budget Committee member.
Great. Thank you, President Thompson. Tonight, the issue before you is whether or not to appoint a citizen member to represent Sub-District 7, which would fill out the Budget Committee roster. The candidate before you tonight meets all of the criteria to fill that position. I think most of you all know her. She's got an excellent background, a Navy veteran, which we won't hold against her. Us Army guys.
And Air Force.
Works for the Secretary of State's Audit Division, and I'll let Director Kelly finish off.
Well, actually, I was going to let her do her own introduction, so. Sharon, would you like to? And then you can tell us your own name so that we don't mangle it.
Oh, okay. So, for the record, it's Sharon
Sharon.
Lacey. It's very hard. I know. I apologize. So, as Alan said, I am a Navy veteran, and I've lived in Salem for about 14 years now, and I've worked for the Secretary of State Audits Division that entire time. And my first entry into public service here in the community was on the Courthouse Square Task Force. So 4 years ago, I kind of stepped out of my little box and decided to get involved in the community, and had just a wonderful opportunity. And so I wanted to thank you for that opportunity 4 years ago, and it's so fabulous to be here and to have this new opportunity with you all. I think it's so important that we have a vital transportation system in Salem, and I do a lot of work with some of Salem's homeless population, and so I see firsthand, how important it is for the community, and to have the honor to serve on the Budget Committee, I really appreciate that opportunity. I do perform audits for the Secretary of State. And so this is kind of right up my alley. I do performance audits for the state, which usually look more at efficiency and effectiveness of programs but we do a lot of, budget work and things like that. So I think this is, for me personally, this is a great fit. I do serve on Salem's Planning Commission, and so, again, it's so important that we have, such a vital transportation system in Salem. And I'm very excited about some of the things that are coming up for the community. And so, again, I just thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you for volunteering. Have any questions for Sharon?
Sharon.
I get it right yet.
Sharon also served as an appointee when there was a vacancy in the city council too, so she has some good background in politics. And I was really happy that she said yes when I asked.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you again.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you. I guess it's time to take a vote. Do we have a motion? Marcia?
I move we appoint Sharon Rossi to the Budget Committee as a citizen member representing Subdistrict 7 to fill the term ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Welcome aboard, Sharon. I'm going to get it right yet. Sharon. We also have two candidates for Subdistrict 2 in the audience today. If you haven't had a chance to meet them, perhaps you can sometime after the meeting or whatever. Colleen Bush and Richard Stevenson out there. Okay, next item. Resolution number 2015-01, Stand Up for Transportation Day proclamation.
Thank you. As you know, last October at the American Public Transportation Association, also known as APTA's annual meeting, Phil Washington, the general manager for the Regional Transportation District in Denver, Colorado, at least for the next few weeks, he's moving on to Los Angeles County Metro next month, assumed the role of president of APTA for the year 2015-16. And as part of his presidency, he has declared April 9th, 2015 as Stand Up for Transportation Day, and has challenged all transit agencies throughout the nation to support his call to action. The goal for the day really is to collectively, as the transit industry, raise the awareness of the need to increase the federal funding for not only public transit infrastructure, but also highway infrastructure, and the need to pass a long-term transportation bill, which is set to expire May 31st of this year. His challenge really is to make that day a day that in local communities we promote the idea that transportation is an important, critical function in communities, and that the federal government's infrastructure commitment needs to continue. In Oregon, along with Salem-Keizer Transit, TriMet and Lane Transit District are committed to holding events. And it just so happens the day before, on Wednesday, April 8th, is the Oregon Transit Association Transit Day at the Capitol. And we have invited and we have received an acceptance that Governor Brown will issue a proclamation that day as part of Transit Day, declaring Stand Up for Transportation Day in Oregon. That will happen in the Galleria around the lunch hour, unless something in her schedule commits. But she has committed to come and attend and sign that in a public viewing. So that's pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So we are recommending, along with the statewide declaration and our fellow transit agencies, that this board, through adoption of Resolution 2015-01, declares April 9th as Stand Up for Transportation Day. And that concludes my report.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I move the board adopt resolution number 2015-01, declaring April 9, 2015 as Stand Up for Transportation Day.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Marcia.
Part of the resolution, for those who may not have it in front of them because they may be watching on TV, part of the resolution is that we declare that quality public transportation services are essential for the economic prosperity of our country, our communities, and for individuals, and that where public transportation goes, community grows. And I just might say that one of the concerns that is increasingly on my mind is not only us getting grayer and having more people who need public transportation because of that, but the millennials who are choosing different lifestyles and have transportation as one of the things that they look for when they're when they're choosing a location in which to settle. And for the good of the Salem-Keizer area in the future, I think it's really important that we continue our work in providing not just adequate, but good public transportation for many more hours than we do now.
Agree. Anyone else? Okay, ready for a vote? Okay, all those in favor of the motion for Stand Up for Transportation Day indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All righty. Okay, approval of 5310 grant application.
Thank you. Mary Ann Hills, the Chair of the Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee, and Ted Stonecliffe, our long-range planning analyst, will present the report.
Good evening, President Thompson and members of the board. As stated, I'm Mary Ann Hills. I'm the chair of your Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee and also Almsville's City Administrator. I'd like to take this opportunity tonight to just thank you for your passion
Can
and
you-
time that you dedicate to.
We need you to talk into the microphone
Excuse
so
me.
that they can pick it up.
Thank you. Your time and the dedication that you give to transportation. And this recommendation before you tonight of the Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee is really funding those essential services that are being provided by Salem-Keizer Transit and Carts and Silverton Trolley and Woodburn Transit. These are providers that are providing for those, as Jerron stated, that are most in need of the trusted and reliable service that these providers are offering in these communities for their quality of life. And that's something that some of the more fortunate take for granted. So it would be a real blessing for you to approve the recommendation. So the recommendation for funding is the enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disability. The district serving as the STF agency was allocated $2,263,874 for this program. And a technical advisory committee was formed this year to receive the applications and deliberate on the merits. And there were 4 members of your STF advisory committee as part of that board, and 2 members of the public were with us, and also Karen Odenthal, a representative from the Mid-Willamette Valley Council of Governments, joined us. So when that TAC committee met this year, we were able to listen to the presentations from those organizations. The funding that was available met the funding needs in those that had applied. So the organizations came in and shared with us their merits of their application, and we were thankful that we could fund them all the requests in full. The TAC made that formal recommendation to the advisory committee, and subsequently, before you tonight, they moved to accept that recommendation and bring this before you tonight. The advisory committee recommends that the board approve the applications as shown in your board packet, and Ted and I are both here tonight to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions of Marianne?
This is not to provide for service, but to provide for replacement of vehicles, or where does this money go?
Actually, it depends on the applicant. When we're talking about Salem-Keizer Transit and the CARTS program that I'm most familiar with, there is some operating in that.
That's what I wondered, if there's operating in there.
Only there, though. Ted will share with you that for Silverton Trolley and for Woodburn Transit,
service.
it's really capital and preventive maintenance projects.
Great.
The one thing I'll say is you'll see carts purchase service, and what that means is our contractor, MV Transit, that is operating carts, is funded in a large part through this program.
Great. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I know Polk County benefits greatly from the CARTS program.
We missed seeing applications from Polk County this time.
Really?
Anyone else? Questions? Marcia?
Well, it's not a question per se. On the CART service, this is some of the major funding for the CART service, which is the regional transportation. And we do the administrative part of planning, and because it makes more sense having expertise instead of building little fiefdoms everywhere, to be able to do some central planning and operations so that we can actually send more dollars out on the street in the way of services. So although CARTs are part of us, they're not really funded with the urban growth boundary funding through the property tax. And so this money is really important for us to be able to provide that service through our contracts and through our oversight, but us not really owning as far as having the urban growth boundary pay for CARTs.
Right.
I always like to clarify
Yes.
that because transit funding is always confusing.
Yes, that's correct, Director Kelly. CART service is funded through 3 different programs. Our this program here, the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Individuals with Disabilities, also the 5311 or Rural Program, and our State Transportation Fund. Those are the 3 major funding sources.
And I'd just like to say that we really appreciated in those rural communities when Salem-Keizer Transit came on board and all of that, and we're the professionals that could facilitate all of that for us, and it's been an excellent program since they've come on and helped with all of that.
Thank you. We like to know that our staff is doing well.
They
And we
are.
like you too. Any other questions? I just want to say, I sat through the, both John and I sat through the process this year, and it was probably the easiest process that we've ever had because we had money this year, which is kind of different. Anyway, appreciate your leadership, Mary Ann, and really appreciate you being part of our organization. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Right, I concur. Our congratulations to the committee on handling this with expedition.
Thank you, Director Hamill.
Okay, we haven't had a motion yet, right? How about a motion?
I move to approve the 2015-17 application for the federal Section 5310 grant as shown in Attachment C, and direct the general manager to submit the application no later than March 27th, 2015 to the ODOT Rail and Public Transit Division for consideration.
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. It is a little close. So I think you got something to do tomorrow, right?
8 a.m.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Approve, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll see you next month with the STF applications.
Okay.
You're
Looking forward
always
to it.
welcome. You don't have to have an excuse.
Thanks, Mary Ann. Okay, approval of a contract amendment for tripling call center services.
Yeah, thank you. Sue Dreyer, Chief Operating Officer, will present the report.
Well, good evening, President Thompson and members of the board. On this beautiful spring evening, I'm here tonight to brief you, answer any questions, and request approval of an amendment for MV Transportation for their contract. This is a 2-part amendment. The first part of the amendment is additional funding for this year, a proposed amount of not to exceed funds, and the second part is to amend the contract to extend it 1 more year. Beginning July 10, we contracted with MV Transportation to manage our TripLink call center. As you know, TripLink receives the reservations and books all the rides for carts, which we were just talking about, the deviated routes, Cherry Lift, all of our NEMITs, which is non-emergent transportation, and did I forget one? Cherry Lift, of course.
Red light.
The current contract, which we are currently under with MV, provides for unlimited extensions. When we began the contract in 2010, the anticipated calls per month was about 13,000. Currently, TripLink Call Center is handling and receiving reservations and calls at about 21,500 per month. The TripLink calls have increased approximately 33% over the last 12 months, mainly due to the Nemet transportation. Director Kelly.
I know what it is, but what is Nemet transportation?
Non-emergent transportation, and it is the transportation, it's a little bit further in the report, but I'll be happy to brief you on it. It's Medicaid and OHP. This is transportation that is funded through the State of Oregon Division of Medical Assistance Program and our partnership with our local CCO, which is Willamette Valley Coordinated Care. This funding stream the allocation for the call center is 77%. It is pass-through funding from the state for us to run the call center. Then we contract with private providers within our area to provide the trips to people to doctor's appointments.
And it's saved the state money.
Yes, it has.
Because
It's called a brokerage. We broker the rides. We collect them all, and then we contract them out.
Because they used to have caseworkers and other people who had to do all of this, and they just
They
pick up
did.
the phone and call almost anyone, so.
At all different locations throughout the state. It's been a great partnership. So to meet the demands in the last year of the increased volume and the subsequent trip scheduling, several increases were needed in the TripLink call center. MB has hired 5 new customer service representatives, 1 new scheduler, and we decided previously last year to open limited hours on Saturdays. Other additions included a 2.5 wage increase for all employees and a reclassification to a higher pay grade for 6 employees. Some of this was upon the district's request to provide a more consistent staff at the call center and to reduce the turnover rate, which has occurred. As a result, though, costs have increased and an amendment is needed for the current contract year. The total additional cost to amend the contract year for this year, 14-15, is $138,945, which brings year 5, there's a chart on the second page of the memo, to $967,546. Part 1 of the amendment. Now I'll move to part 2 of the amendment. Part 2 of the amendment is the 1-year renewal with MB Transportation to continue to manage the TripLink call center services, effective July 1st, 15, and ending June 30th, 16. Due to the impact of the RFP, request for proposal, which is now out, we have the possibility of changing vendors to provide our operations of transportation services for Cherry Lift and carts. With that, coupled with a new telephone system that we are procuring, it is our recommendation that we continue to use MB to provide the stability and scheduling and the tenure of employees that are very familiar with the operating software. The increase from the amended FY15 to the proposed FY16 contract is $59,132. The overall increase is about 24% over those 2 years, which is in line with the increase of calls and rides we are providing from TripLink. So year 6 proposal amount is $1,026,678. Again, I will stress that TripLink operational costs are allocated through several funds across several areas. As I said earlier, 77% of the costs are directly funded through a pass-through with the state and the local CCO, Willamette Valley Coordinated Care. The remaining costs are allocated to Cherry Lift, that's 16% of the cost, carts 3%, and Red Line 4%. So at this time, we recommend the board authorize the general manager to amend the contract for the current 15 year to a not to exceed amount of $967,546 and enter into a 1-year extension not to exceed $1,026,678 with MB Transportation to provide TripLink call center services. May I answer any questions for you?
John?
Sure, just a point of clarification. So since the medical assistance program pays for essentially 3/4 of that. They would be paying, their budget is the one that will be contributing 3/4 of this increase that we are to vote on. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's not, we don't actually, they don't have the budget. We charge them, they pay us per ride rate.
Right.
And then there's a truing up with the state on that per ride rate once a year.
Right, but it's, what I was eager to illuminate was 3/4 of it is not coming out of the transit district's coffers.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Other questions? Okay, we're ready for a motion. Somebody have it?
I'll do that.
Okay.
You know that I have been critical of the performance, and let me just add that it's not critical of the staff who's doing it or critical of the management who's making it go. This has been a very challenging year that we're just putting behind us, and it's not over yet. I'd like to see the phones answered more quickly, and we'll keep on working on that, is
We
what
will.
we'll do.
Thank you.
In the interim, I move the board to authorize the general manager to amend the TripLink contract for fiscal year 14-15 and to a not to exceed amount of $967,546 and exercise a 1-year renewal extension not to exceed $1,026,678 from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016 with MV Transportation to provide TripLink call center services.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment, Director Hamel.
Okay, next item is information items. American Public Transportation Association, which is APTA, legislative report. Alan.
Thank you. So, as we know, a couple of weeks ago, APTA held its annual legislative conference in Washington, D.C., along with myself, Directors Thompson and Krebs were in attendance. This briefing is just to brief the rest of the board on the activities that happened during that conference. So, starting off is a few days of conference, and then we made our legislative visits, which afforded us the opportunity to attend several APTA committee meetings, from small operations to legislative committee to board member committee. We also were able to attend 2 coalitions that we're members of. The Bus Coalition meeting, which is really focusing on the bus and bus facilities account of the transportation bill reauthorization, and the Getting America to Work Coalition, which is just advocating the long-term transportation bill. So they had meetings during the conference. The session was kicked off by Candy Crowley, CNN's award-winning political correspondent, who gave her insights on what's going on in Washington, D.C. and the upcoming presidential election. And she provided some pretty interesting insights. Maybe the board members would like to share on that. We also received perspectives from Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio, Senator Dean Heller from Nevada, and Representative Eleanor Holmes Norton from the District of Columbia. Through an unfortunate scheduling of timing this year, the House actually was not in session, so our representatives were not there, but the Senate was in session, and we were able to meet with them. However, we did meet with all of the staff. So as part of the legislative visits, we met with Liz Cooney, legislative aide for Senator Merkley, and she has been working with us for several years, and her along with Senator Merkley were pretty instrumental in getting us funds for the Keizer Transit Center. And so that relationship is going well. Senator Merkley did stop in for about 10 minutes of the visit and talked with us, and I'll let the board members talk about that. We also met with Senator Wyden's staff and Congressman Schrader's staff, who is working with us on the bus and bus facilities accounts. We also were able to meet with the professional staff of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee on the Republican side, And we talked about the importance of the bus and bus facility recommendations that AFTA made, and reiterated not only should there be a formula portion, but also a discretionary portion that would allow operators like us to go after those lumpy purchases, because the formula money just is not enough for our small agencies like us. They're also working on the Innovations in Surface Transportation Act and the VIBA policy changes, which are all part of the district's legislative agenda. We heard from her about the leadership of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee's desire to support a long-term transportation bill, and the ongoing question, how are we going to fund it? It's not so much how to spread it out, but how to fund the bill. And there still is no answers on that. We also met with Congressman Walden's staff. Because I was there and I serve as the president of the Oregon Transit Association, we kind of used this opportunity to meet with him on behalf of the smaller transit agencies, especially in Congressman Walden's region, who just don't have the ability to get back there. So I met with staff on their behalf. There are a few follow-up items from CFM, our legislative advocate in DC. We did talk with staff about the Federal Transit Administration's LONO program, which is low or no emission vehicles, hybrid vehicles, and electric vehicles. And when that grant opportunity comes up, they'll work with us on talking with the FTA staff to make sure we fully understand what they're asking for consideration of a grant application. And I talked earlier about Liz Cooney from Senator Merkley's staff. She may have the opportunity to come to Oregon this summer as part of a retreat, and is asked to visit our transit center that she helped fund. And so a great opportunity for her to see the fruits of her labor. And so as that happens, I'll let you know. And with that, I guess we'll let the other attendees talk about their perspective on it.
I'll just say a couple of things. I think our CFM, I don't know what that stands for, do you?
Confluent Fiscal and McCormick.
It actually that's what it did. Now they've actually changed their name to just CFM Strategic Communications.
Our CFM staff that does our lobbying back there is so knowledgeable about what we're doing. It's amazing how much they know. I'm just constantly amazed at them. I mean, they know more about that than any of us know, probably. I don't know. They just seem to know, pick everything out of their heads that they need to have to pass on to people on the Hill there. Just very knowledgeable. And the staff of the congressmen and the senators are just really impressive too. The young people that just have all sorts of knowledge. It's amazing. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to visit any of the congressional offices, but it's just a very impressive thing. And I was really surprised when we met with Senator Merkley that he was very up on what we're doing out here too, and he's very supportive of the things that we talked about there. So hopefully there'll be something there. Bob, do you want to say anything about it?
Yes, I thought it was a very successful trip. Sometimes you go back there and you kind of come home feeling like, what did I do? But I thought this one, we had people listening to us, and we also got some information from the conference that will help us here. One of the interesting things that caught my attention, and I know there's a multiplier effect to investment in various transportation modes, but the investment in transit is about a 4-to-1 to a community. So for every dollar you invest in transit, it brings back about $4 to the welfare of the community's economy. Also, transit is very essential in getting people to work, and so those are two big issues that I think support our movement to have transit here 7 days a week, so we can get people to jobs on weekends and stuff like that. I felt a little more optimistic. I know that we've heard the Congress is now all Republican, and a lot of us felt that there would be no movement on the transportation bill, but there seems to be, both sides seem to be working together a little better, and I'm optimistic that we may get a long-term, several people are, it may not happen, but a long-term transportation bill, which would be highways, transit, railroads, and everything. that would last for 6 years, so we don't have to do the tin cup every 2 years when the transportation bill comes up for reauthorization. But I thought it was a successful trip, and
I have to agree. 6 years, 2 years, actually 6 months or something, one of the, a couple of times. Anyway, I think, is there any questions from the board members? John?
Sure, I've got questions in two areas. First off, back to the bus funding, it's starting to get kind of critical for us, and I'd like to hear if there's any good news at all on that. And the second one is, I see that there is some pushback in the House Transportation and other committee on keeping transit in the Highway Trust Fund. What, if you could amplify on that?
I think it's pretty solid that we're going to stay there, but Alan, did you have any?
I would just add, there was talk even at the conference about that, but there really isn't any major concern. I think it's just a small group who's advocating for that, but there seemed to be no concern that that would actually happen.
Okay.
Talking about the taking transit out. When they tried to do that a couple years ago, the outpouring of transit agencies into DC and the messages that they heard, I don't think they'll try that again. On the bus and bus facilities, it's hard to say. We met earlier this week and looking at our upcoming bus purchase, and we have, through our current funding process, the ability to pay for 12 buses now, and we have another 12 that we need to replace. But it depends on what the new transportation bill looks like, and if it's the same as it is now, the bus and bus facilities, if it stays at the same funding level and the same formula process, we get about $550,000 a year, which is about 1 1/8 of a bus. So with that, it will make it very difficult unless we find some other source. That's why we're advocating to double the pot and create a discretionary portion for those what we call lumpy purchases. And we've recommended a couple of the other funding silos to be eliminated and moved in because they're not serving their purpose. So it just depends on what happens. But if there isn't a discretionary pot, it makes it very difficult to do that planning. But it's more important right now to get that long-term bill so we can get some consistency for long-range planning.
Thank you.
And everybody was very impressed with lumpy purchases back there.
Yeah, we got to find a better word.
Oh, no, I mean, that really caught everybody's eye every year. Anybody have any other questions? Yes, Marcia.
Well, this may be covered later when we talk about it, but while they were in Washington, D.C., Congressman Schrader held his forum for elected officials, so 3 of us were able to meet with the congressman. And he had a staff person there too, of course, but so that week was well covered for meeting with a congressman in our district, and it was really nice to know that Congressman Schrader seems to remember what we're doing at Salem-Keizer Transit. He's always been very friendly to us, so I'm pleased.
Yeah, we were in his office in DC about the same time that you were meeting with him here. Okay, anything else?
I might mention we ran into Brad Nanke, City
Yes.
Councilor Brad Nanke, one morning back there because he was with the city council group.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, moving on to reports. Board subcommittee reports. Council of Government, I missed the board meeting due to the cruise that I was on, and Bob went and substituted for me. Today we had an executive committee meeting, and we had one other consecutive meeting earlier to deal with the contract issue. So, Bob, did you have anything to report on the COG meeting?
I think that was the major issue that we discussed at the COG meeting, and you are more up to date since you were in a meeting today.
Yeah, and we did resolve that issue, sort of. So, anyway, Special Transportation Fund, John, you saw what we did at the last meeting tonight with the 5310 money.
Right, and the Special Transportation Fund Advisory Committee will be bringing forward reports over the next 2 months on the remaining 2 funds that we work
I
with.
think we've approved the first one now.
Yep,
There's one left, yeah.
Yeah.
And Mid-Valley Commission on Transportation, and my voice is starting to go away again.
Okay, well, Bob covered the MWAC meeting for me this month, so.
Well, and I think one of the things that came up at the MWAC meeting, the Mid-Valley
Mid-Willamette Valley Commission on Transportation.
Commission on Transportation, yes. I don't usually go to that one, so I can't pronounce the acronym as fast. The big thing that came up was that they kept, in the Connect Oregon selection, transit remained as one of the higher rated ones. Unfortunately, we were one project under the line, and as a result, one of the projects above the line fell out, so we moved up, and in a later meeting that I'll talk about, we gained $1 million for the South Salem Transit Center. So that was a good thing that happened at that meeting, and most of the other thing was the general business of the group.
Okay, and the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study Policy Commission.
Okay, see, I come back to the same subject, and they were congratulating us on getting the $1 million, but we also have $300,000 from the Salem-Keizer Area Transportation Study as the match dollars for those Connect Oregon funds. So we have $1.3 million for the South Salem Transit Center, which is great because it's in my district. So I'm real happy about that too. And most of the rest of the meeting, we basically were going over plans and doing some wordsmithing and approving them for adoption on one plan, and on the other plan to send it out for public review.
Okay, and OMPOC, Oregon Metropolitan
OMPOC is
Planning.
meeting on April 8th, the same time as our day at the Capitol, so I probably will not be going to that one.
And nothing on the river crossing.
No river crossing meeting.
Citizens Advisory Committee, Steve?
Yeah, it was delayed and we're meeting on April 1st.
Okay. Okay, and there's some notes on the Triple Link Advisory Committee, I think, in your packet, so. So let's go into board and management issues. General Manager.
I just have a couple items. So the first one you kind of talked about already is a lot of good news happening for us this month. So yeah, the Connect Oregon grant is a biggie. There is wise counsel for perseverance and not giving up, and I'd also like to thank Ken Woods, the chair of MWAC, for really stepping up for us at previous meetings, and so we will make sure this money goes to good use.
Can I just say something right now, because it reflects right there? One of the other things is that when there was discussion about maybe they were going to take another look at some of the projects, Commissioner Brentano suggested that the Salem-Keizer Transit Project was really the one that should be put forward, so we should thank Commissioner Brentano too. But Ken is really helpful because he serves on the League of Oregon Cities Transportation Committee too, and is known, and it serves on the big policy committee at the state level, and he's got a really practical approach to what we put forward, working with everybody to put forward projects. So there are projects in different little price ranges so that maybe we can get some things. And so he's been really good about that. So since you're just talking about it, it's a better time to talk about that.
Also earlier this week was Salem-Keizer Community Connect for the homeless, and as you saw in my reports earlier, we did provide free bus rides for participants that needed it. There's a great article in the paper the other day about it, talking about the biggest hurdle from people getting to services when they're not all in one place is transportation, and acknowledgement that we provided the transportation for the participants that needed it. And then for the trifecta in Keizer Times, we had a nice article about the moving forward proposal that you adopted last month, talking about Phase 1 and the opportunities for Phase 2. Also in your packet that was at your table. There's a memo from Roxanne Rolls, our rideshare coordinator, about the Chariots Rideshare Individualized Marketing Program that's getting ready to happen next month. There's some background information for you if people in the community bring it up. This last couple of weeks, spent a lot of time at the Capitol meeting with our legislative delegation, talking about our legislative agenda and working with the Ways and Means Committee on potential employer bus pass program for the state. Also at your tables, those that didn't go to the APTA conference, you'll see the APTA legislative packet with the talking points and agenda, as well as a marketing materials about economic development. And then April 8th is Lobby Day at the Capitol, lots happening there. And then just to close, tomorrow we'll be having a retirement ceremony for one of our transit operators. Ken Smith is retiring after a long and prosperous career here, so we wish him well tomorrow. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. I attended two Chamber Policy Committee meetings. In fact, was kind of us candidates for office were kind of on the griddle, being asked questions by the group. It was fairly painless, and it wasn't bad. We did attend the Legislative Conference in D.C., one Special Transportation Fund meeting, which we talked about a little bit earlier. And then I went on a cruise and got a cold. You know, you do that, I guess. We did just attend a reception for Linda Norris, who the city manager, who is retiring. So that was basically my month. And let's go on to John.
All righty. Pretty much everything I have participated in has been talked about already. That will make a comment that I had hoped to attend State Representative Paul Evans' meeting for elected officials in Monmouth, but I was going to rely on carts to get me there, and it turned out it would have been overnight. So, so I missed it.
There may be motels over there, I don't know.
That's it.
So I attended our board work session earlier in the month, as well as the Keizer Chamber Luncheon. At the Chamber Luncheon, the new high school, CTE High School, I guess it's not its own high school, but kind of a support high school between Mountain West and Salem-Keizer School District was the topic. And that's a really exciting thing that is going to be happening in our community, which is something that I think any organization should be really positive about. It opens up, I think, a lot of great marketing opportunities for the Salem-Keizer area for a stronger workforce. I think it also is in line with what we're trying to do, providing service through the weekend is part of that same conversation of what this area is trying to do to be an attractive place for companies to locate, to be able to serve our community. And the other thing that I did is I talked with the Keizer Transit District, who is the Keizer Fire District, sorry about that, who is also looking to put a measure on the ballot to have an equipment bond. And Chief Cowan is very positive about our desire as well to have a bond at the same time, and to be positive about both of them, so that as we approach the community, it's not a competition, but a compatible needs, things that serve our community better, future needs, as we've talked about with the millennials and the older population, and even those of us in the middle, and the value that transit brings our community.
Steve?
I got to sit in for Jerry because he was out of town at the Chamber's speaking session. It was Oregon Forum, yeah. It was the Oregon Historical Society director, and it was very interesting. I went up and approached him afterwards. We were talking history. It was great. And then I, too, got to sit through the Chamber interview process. I attended the planning hearing for the proposal for police and justice for the city. One of the members of the audience was there too, sitting up front. And thank you for doing that too. We didn't talk about that, or did we? Yeah. And then I attended Kurt Schrader's meeting, and I had a few phone calls, which no big deals. People talking about Saturday service. So that was, and the work session. So it was busy.
Kate?
So I attended the subcommittee meeting, and I also met with Kathy Lincoln, who's running in Sub-District 3, so I was really excited to hear about her activities and knowing her Sangster and her involvement in Keizer. She wasn't able to be here tonight because she's on a committee board tonight, but she said she won't be having to let go of a few commitments in the event she is elected. So I wanted to congratulate the other members that are here this evening. And also, Ted, please don't leave. I have an email today asking about Special Transportation Committee that you could probably answer. And then I did participate in a rideshare program that has a long tradition called Disneyland, and that was my month.
Well, I had a fairly busy month. I put in a lot of hours. A big part of it was going to the APTA conference in Washington. As a result of that, I missed most of the neighborhood meetings I go to, but we'll make those up next month. I attended the Association of Oregon Rail and Transit Advocates Board in Portland this month, and their big push right now is to get the legislature to fund the Amtrak Cascades trains between Eugene and Portland to keep those running. I attended a number of meetings that I've already reported on, and I worked with our general manager, Alan Pollock, and we gave a presentation to the City Watch group about the Moving Forward program. I also was involved with some of the vision screening at the First Baptist Church Community Outreach Program that we supplied bus service for as a volunteer. And I met with Paul Evans at the elected officials meeting in Monmouth last Monday. So those are a number of things that I did. Also, I have an announcement that I received information from a source that Amtrak is going to have an exhibition train here in Salem on Saturday, May 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it's going to be parked down in Riverfront Park with some other train type memorabilia type stuff. It might be something we could tie in with, I just got the information this afternoon, even after I wrote my report, so might be something we could tie in with a little publicity for us too. And that ties up my report.
Okay, Marcia.
And he didn't say that he filled in. He already talked about where he filled in for Jerry and I this month, so it's good we have you on board. I did the Congressman Schrader event for elected officials and did the work session. I was with the Salem-Keizer Transit at our table for the Green Awards, the award that we won last year, and that was a good time was had by all. Attended the SCAN Neighborhood Association board meeting, the chamber interview session for candidates, and have had a couple of calls about TripLink in the last month or so, and everyone will be happy to know that Mark Connect is back from his back surgery, and so I'm sure he'll be showing up here again. The Democratic Party Central Committee invited local candidates to their March meeting, so I attended there. And March is Women's History Month, and so our new governor invited the ladies of the lobby and the ladies of the legislature and the statewide office holders who were ladies and her top staff who were ladies to an event at Mahoning Hall on Tuesday night. So it was really fun. Parking is a little bit difficult in our neighborhood, so I was really pleased that all I had to do was put my car in the driveway of our very small little house and walk. But it's really good, and I'm glad that she hopefully is going to be there for the signing of the proclamation. We'll see what we can do. I think she now may be a constituent if she changes her address to vote.
Great. Anyone have anything else? Any other for the good of the order? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you. Kate?